Welcome to this tutorial. This video will be fully packed with very useful tips that will help you to master this etude faster and play it with less tension. But let's start from a bit controversial topic. The fact is that we can help ourselves from the very first day working on this piece. We can help ourselves redistributing material between hands. So it means that a lot of notes from the right hand we may actually take in the left hand. And that would allow us to use an alternative fingering and get rid of tension in a number of spots. The controversy here is, of course, that I know quite a lot of teachers that don't allow such tricks and forbid their students to redistribute things between hands, believing that if it's written in the score in the right hand, we are not allowed to take it in the left hand. However, with all the respect to that opinion, my point is that the life is so desperately short. And as professional piano players, we stand in front of an enormously huge piano repertoire, full of beautiful pieces that you fall in love with immediately when you hear them, and there is absolutely no chance to play all this beautiful music within a lifetime. So that's why my goal is not just to bring everything what I play to the highest possible level, but also to spend as little time practicing these pieces as possible. And I believe that's a very important skill. That's why if I'm able to use a more efficient solution, not losing the quality, I just go for it. Of course, we have to respect polyphony, and I will show to you how to redistribute things between hands in such a way that it would not mess things up. So let's quickly have a look at what we can actually adjust and redistribute between hands. So from the very beginning, if you have big enough hands, you might take that C, the very first sound in the middle voice, in the left hand. And that would allow you to start that line with a very comfortable fingering, like the most comfortable fingering ever. And that's a really great thing because playing in this way, you might be sure at least about the beginning. If you start worrying already about the first two notes, playing that with a traditional fingering, you're in trouble. So starting like that helps a lot. Then in the bar number 2, when we have a musical rest in the left hand, we can move our hand quickly and take that third in the left hand. Of course, regarding the polyphony, we have to play all these notes that we take in the left hand instead of the right hand lighter. So providing enough support in the thumb for these chords, and then playing that 16 note lighter. Then in the bar number 3, what I do here on the third beat, I use 3, 4, 3, 3. So I slide down from C sharp with the third finger, and in order to do it lighter, I also use my elbow just a little bit, a tiny bit. I push my elbow a bit apart, and that makes this slide even easier, like that. And then I take the E on the fourth beat in the left hand. And then I take all these notes in the lower voice in the left hand. Of course, here, for example, in the bar number 4, on the second beat, we have a quarter in the left hand and just 16ths in the middle voice. So I would play them shorter and lighter. But nevertheless, it's much easier than playing all these in the right hand. And also here, taking that G in the left hand helps a lot. And then again, taking that C in the left hand. Similar story in the bar number 7. On the fourth beat, we can take that A in the left hand, playing just the second in the right hand. And then in the bar number 8, on the third beat, of course, while we have a musical rest in the left hand, we can take advantage of this opportunity. Just use your pedal in order to hold that octave as long as necessary, but move your hand quicker. And of course, a similar spot in bar number 17. voicing that voice in the left hand, D, C, but playing E with the left hand lighter. So playing that E lighter, and then I use 1, 2, 3, 5 for the last, for the fourth beat, and I take that D in the left hand, of course playing it lighter, and then changing the finger from 5 to 2, like that. And in the next bar, number 18, I'm committing a crime. So let's keep the secret between us, okay? So in the bar number 18, on the first beat, I drop that A that is supposed to play with the thumb and play just... And that's a great solution because it helps me to play without any problems and without much practicing, just using comfortable fingering. But unless you're going to announce that from the stage, hey guys, I'm deliberately skipped that note, nobody is really going to notice that and make a big fuss about that. Then about alternative fingering. In bar number 18, I also use the most comfortable fingering for that descending chromatic scale. Release, and then I just play 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, and then I slightly turn my hand and play 5, 4. Thanks to pedal, we can imitate legato without playing it physically. So, for example, in the bar number 18, on the fourth beat, I play just 4, 3, 2, 1, and while playing 1, I simultaneously flip my hand over like that. And then a similar story in the next bar number 21. So here, 4, 3, 2, 1, flipping the hand on the thumb and continue playing with 2, 3. And even later at the next bar, or number 22, also here, 4, 3, 2, 1, flipping the hand, connecting that with pedal, and landing on 4, 2. Now at the bar number 25, at the fourth beat, there is a good suggestion about fingering that goes as 5, 4, 3, 1, and then starting that with 5, 2, or 1, 4. But I feel myself actually not really comfortable with that, so I played just 5, 4, 3, 4, connecting that with pedal. And in the bar number 29, I felt myself quite uncomfortable between beats number 1 and 2. So I decided to play that 5, 4, 3, 2, connecting that with pedal, and just moving your hand toward the next hand position. And if you mark that A flat just a tiny bit and use pedal in order to connect those positions, you might actually imitate a legato pretty well without playing it physically. And then the last fingering suggestion in bar number 45, at the very last passage, it's very important to play that second with one finger, just thumb. Because if you play that 1 to 4, you have that stretch that makes it less comfortable. So then there are a few efficiency concepts that you should be aware of if you want to master this etude relatively quickly and to have as little problems as possible with it. So the first concept is rotation. Rotation is very important. It has a drastic importance for piano playing, and I really suggest you, if you are not introduced to it, I really suggest you to dig into this topic and to learn more about it. Of course, one of the best explanations about rotations in piano playing belong to Taubman method, and all this is available online, so you can learn about that pretty easily. But in short, without going in much detail here, so you start from rotating your hand slightly left, leaning on the thumb, then you go right and then return the weight, leaning on the thumb. This is extremely important because it gives us an opportunity to shake off the tension that might appear in the weaker fingers. And also it might benefit your interpretation because this lower middle voice has the melody of its own, and we can take advantage of it if we would just listen to it. It's a beautiful music actually, hidden between both hands. And if you want to listen to an ultimate example of how to use this voice in order to enrich your interpretation, I encourage you to listen to the version of Vitaly Margulis, who is playing this etude, and he assigns a leading role to that voice, transforming the whole etude. So it's pretty important to keep this voice in mind. So having some support on the thumb, we kill actually two rabbits. We enrich our interpretation, but also we make this piece more efficient. Then, of course, spots like in the bar number 32 are played entirely with the help of rotational elements. So left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Here, when you proceed to the thumb, open your hand palm and just fall down on that interval without lifting your fingers too much, without using muscle effort for that. Just as little effort as possible, just using gravity. The second concept is also actually brilliantly explained by a Taubman method, is about going inside the keyboard and outside the keyboard. So it means that whenever you have a white note, you can remain a lower position of your wrist. But for the black note, you slightly step on it. Just imagine that you push your elbow slightly forward and raise your knuckle just a tiny bit, feeling support on that finger, and then again, lower, higher, lower, higher. So this is, of course, those are very tiny movements, both rotation and this in and out technique, but nevertheless they add a lot to the efficiency of your piano playing, because thanks to that you can enforce weaker fingers. For example, between bars number 7 and 8 there is a quite uncomfortable spot. Like here, it's pretty uncomfortable to reach that chord, even taking that A in the left hand, but nevertheless that's not really comfortable. So what we can do here, we can release that F sharp shorter, faster, and then just go inside the keyboard, not using the fingers so much, but moving our hand inside the keys like that. This actually applies to all the uncomfortable white chords. If you feel stretch, if you feel some position needs stretch, you'd better spread your fingers and move it just inside the keyboard using your forearm, your elbow, instead of trying to grasp those chords with fingers. Whenever we have a crescendo, for example, when we go upwards, it's very important to avoid making it through the muscle effort, but rather through gaining stability in the fingers and moving the keys just faster. Also in bars number 30 and 31, it's very important to take advantage of in and out movement. So we start lower with the wrist and then go in for these two notes, and you see you're quite high here. So you just fall down on that chord. Lower, higher, fall down. Now, regarding the interpretation, of course, many people believe that this is a climax of the piece. So we have to show all the strengths in our fingers. But I think that since this is a romantic piece and a very enigmatic one, upon my opinion, we can actually create that crescendo, lead the music toward this abrupt E major chord, and then take your time and start those figurations clearly, with a clear sound, of course, but just lighter and with some rubato and maybe some pedal. Then, for example, a crescendo at the very end of the section, and sudden piano. A couple of words about learning strategies. I'm pretty sure that you have tried already a bunch of different learning strategies, like for example learning this piece with the help of dotted rhythms. Of course, that's very helpful. If you do that, just keep in mind that it's very important to have a clear goal when you use a certain technique for learning a piece. So in this case, the goal would be to learn your fingers to release immediately. So whenever you proceed to the next, just make sure that you release all the fingers immediately. And then, of course, if you learn it this way, it's important to learn it in an opposite way. So with the opposite dotted rhythm. Then, of course, another useful method is to release your hands right after the first 16th note, and then play 2, 3, 4, 1 with an immediate release afterwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Controlling that each group is very comfortable. Especially this is very helpful for passages like in the bar number 20, for example. So here our goal is to release that chord immediately, and while releasing you leap to the next position like that. So just imagine that your hand is a frog that just jumps to the next position. But the most impressive learning strategy that helped me the most is actually weirdest one, is just playing this piece on mezzo forte and repeating each note twice. Yeah, so this is exactly as dumb as it sounds, but it helps. I don't know why, but it helps a lot. So basically you just shake your arm, shake your wrist for each note, and playing each note twice on mezzo forte with stable fingers, but avoiding working with just fingers, rather thinking about the stability of the fingers, stability of the knuckle bridge, but playing that with the forearm. So of course that sounds very irritating, and I'm really sorry for your family and neighbors if you will apply that practicing at home. But it helped me tremendously actually, because when I was learning this piece, pretty quickly I have reached a stage when I was playing it without much tension, in tempo about 130 metronomical beats per minute. But I wanted to push it further to the more standard tempo, and at least at this piano, which is quite heavy. So the action of this piano is very heavy, actually much heavier than most of the concert grounds I used to play in my life. So I couldn't actually breach that wall for quite a while, until I tried to learn it this way, and immediately within 2 days I was able to raise the speed of this piece around 10% and to reach a standard tempo for this piece. So although it's very weird, but actually it helps a lot. The most important is to make it really precisely, so all the uncomfortable spots should be really firm, and you should have any doubts about precision of your playing. Just important to release your hand between each note. For that reason we bounce with the wrist each time. And you learn that on mezzo forte. So if you learn a piece like that, I would suggest a mezzo forte as a default dynamic. And then when we approach finally a faster tempo and try to play this piece fluently, one thing that helps me a lot is to think about surfing. Because in this piece we can't actually go deep into the keys, we can't actually work with the bottom of the key, because you will get stuck. It will hold you back if you will play too deep into the keys. And although I introduce my students immediately to the concept of working with the bottom of the key and feeling some support in the key, in pieces like this one it doesn't really work, because if you will think about that, you will get heavy and it will be really difficult to push the tempo. But it doesn't mean that we have to hold the weight of our hands, because that would make things even worse. So here comes the surfing analogy. You still have your body weight, so the gravity laws still apply to you, but just because you slide on the wave, you don't sink, you don't go directly to the bottom of the sea. So for this piece, we can apply this analogy. Just imagine that you strive to go to the bottom of the key, to the bed of the key, but just because of the fluid tempo, just because of the sliding on the wave, you don't really reach that bottom. So the weight of the arm is always slightly in front of you. And for that, helps tremendously to release your elbow and to push it slightly further. Especially it works well when you raise the tempo, when you feel already enough dexterity in order to play it in a more fluent way. So I always try to slide with my hands, although feeling support, but this support kind of escapes before I reach the bottom of the key in the favor of the next key. So I hope that you found this lesson helpful. Please check my extensive tutorials on teachable.com. And of course, if these tips help you to master your version, please share it in comments. I would be really happy to look at your performances, guys. Have fun playing piano and see you next time.